Chapter 5, Section 2, Part 2. Please make sure to have your Google Doc open through your Google Classroom and to complete, as you watch this video, filling in the answers when you come across them. When we last left off, Increase Mather had been sent to England to plead with King James about the situation that was unfolding with Governor Edmund Andros in the New England region. So where we're going to pick up today is with England's Glorious Revolution. The English Parliament had decided to overthrow King James for not respecting its rights. Events came to a head in 1688. King James, a Catholic, had been trying to pack his next Parliament, which is England's law-making body, with officials who would overturn anti-Catholic laws. He had dismissed the last Parliament in 1685. The Protestant leaders of Parliament were outraged. They offered the throne to James's Protestant daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange. William was the ruler of the Netherlands. Having little support from the people, James fled the country at the end of 1688. Parliament named William and Mary the new monarchs of England. This change in leadership was called England's Glorious Revolution. After accepting the throne, William and Mary agreed in 1689 to uphold the English Bill of Rights. This was an agreement to respect the rights of English citizens and of Parliament. Under it, the king or queen could not cancel laws or impose taxes unless Parliament agreed. Free elections and frequent meetings of Parliament must be held. Excessive fines and cruel punishments were forbidden. People had the right to complain to the king or queen in Parliament without being arrested. The English Bill of Rights established an important principle. The government was to be based on laws made by Parliament, not on the desires of a ruler. The rights of English people were strengthened. The American colonists were quick to claim these rights. When the people of Boston heard of King James's fall, they jailed Governor Andros and asked Parliament to restore their old government. Shared power in the colonies. After the Glorious Revolution, the Massachusetts colonists regained some self-government. They could again elect representatives to an assembly. However, they still had a governor appointed by the Crown. This diagram on the screen shows how most colonial governments were organized by 1700. Note how the royal governor, his council, and the colonial assembly shared power. The governor could not strike down the laws passed by the assembly, but the assembly was responsible for the governor's salary. If he blocked the assembly might refuse to pay him. During the first half of the 1700s, England interfered very little in colonial affairs. This hands-off policy was called salutary neglect. Parliament passed many laws regulating trade, the use of money, and even apprenticeships in the colonies. But governors rarely enforced these laws. The colonists got used to acting on their own. The Zenger Trial. Colonists moved towards gaining a new right, freedom of the press, in 1735. That year, John Peter Zenger, publisher of the New York Weekly Journal, stood trial for printing criticisms of New York's governor. The governor had removed the judge and tried to fix an election. This is a quote from the New York Weekly Journal from John Peter Zenger. This is exactly what he wrote. A governor turns rogue, meaning criminal, does 1,000 things for which a small rogue would have deserved a halter, meaning hanging, and because it is difficult to obtain relief against him, it is prudent, wise, to join in the roguery. John Peter Zenger, New York Weekly Journal, quoted in Colonial America, 1607 through 1763. So in other words, what John Peter Zenger was saying is the governor was a criminal, and since there really wasn't much you could do to him to stop him from being a criminal, it was wise for most people to join in and just go along with the illegal activities he was participating in. So at that time, it was illegal to criticize the government in print. Andrew Hamilton defended Zenger at his trial, claiming that people had the right to speak the truth. The jury agreed, and Zenger was released. English rights were part of the heritage uniting people in the British colonies. In the next section, you will read about another unifying force, a war against the French and their Indian allies. This is the end of Chapter 5, Section 2. You should be able to answer a few questions. First, what were 3 of the traditional rights expected by the English colonists? 2. In what ways did the English government anger the colonists in the late 1600s? 3. How did England's policies towards the colonies change after the Glorious Revolution? Finally, in your opinion, who had the most power, the royal governor, the council, or the assemblies? Be able to defend your opinion, thinking about each of their roles in making laws, their roles in raising money, and who had final approval in matters. Also make sure that you have completed your Google Doc and have submitted through the Google Classroom. and we'll see you in class tomorrow.